T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Right, and here we go. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan E at the Hotspur Hood with Spurs Morning Glory. Hopefully one day we will see some glory, not just morning glory. But this is my guest, Mia. How are we doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks, Dan. Not too bad. The weather's a bit gloomy, but, you know, it is what it is.
I think that's England for you. It's the time of year we're getting to where everyone's getting the cold and everyone's getting their touch of flu and everyone's getting everything else. It's just, yeah, you look out there a bit miserable at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, oh, well, let's try and liven it up from the miserable side then. I mean, I was looking through a bit of stuff this morning. I mean, I know there's still 3 months away from the transfers. Everyone is still talking about transfers consistently because of how much we need this January to work for us. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Definitely, we need to get some backups in, because I think we'll be in a really bad way if certain players go down, and we've got players going away to other tournaments. So
exactly,
we definitely need some backups.
One of the fresh ones that's definitely come up on the scene for me, and I must admit, I'm a bit 50-50 with this one. I could see why, and I could also see why not. So I'm definitely going to need your opinion on this one, yeah? And I do not think this is a bad player, and I think he would be a step up from what we already have on the subs bench, but whether he would make the first team, and let's see. But he seems to make England's team. Calvin Phillips. He seems to be one that Ange is very interested in. Yes. Since he's gone Man City, he's been a bit of a... You don't even know the man exists, do you? Really?
No.
I mean, I think I could count his minutes like on the back of my hand or so. He really has not played much time, but he still does get a call for England. But then that just goes down to how much of a poor manager we got at England, I think. I mean, Southgate, I think he's bloody useless. But, so... We're meant to be looking at Calvin Phillips for around about 24 million, and City obviously quite willing to get rid of him. So with the Calvin Phillips issue, what's your opinion on this one? What do you reckon he could do for us? What do you reckon he couldn't do for us?
Do you know what? It's really difficult, because when he was at Leeds, I think he was a big fish, right, in a small pond. And I think going to Man City has really overshadowed him. I feel like that he's just seems to have not really played the way he was playing at Leeds, where I think at Leeds, I think he was a really good player. I think that he's young. I think he's quite a quick player. He's quite a strong player. And I think he's somebody that I think Ange would like. I think you can see why Ange would like him, right? But when he's been at City, he hasn't really shown much because he hasn't really had the opportunity. So I think it's a difficult one to judge with him at Man City. But when you look at his Leeds career, I thought he was really good at Leeds. I don't know what you think.
You know what? At Leeds, he definitely stood out, didn't he? And he definitely wasn't injury prone. It seems that when he's gone to City, he's definitely had a few bang or two. The two questions I've got with him at City is it that it's now a small fish in a big pond? It's easily possible. Or is it just down to the fact that they're not sort of playing his style of football the way he wants to play it? What do you reckon? I think you've gone mute.
Stupid mistake. I mute myself.
That's all right.
I think it could be that Pep doesn't trust him maybe to play the way he wants to play. Could that be something? Because, he's just not giving him that chance, is he? He's just not giving him that chance at all. He's favouring anyone else over him. I just can't understand why, because when you saw him at Leeds, there must have been a reason why they scouted him that's what I'm saying. I just don't understand why they would scout him.
Pep wouldn't have took him in if he didn't have a role for him, would he? Pep isn't that sort of
that's-
person. I mean, definitely the fact that he's English would have definitely done some favours for him, yeah. But I honestly don't think Pep would have just picked him to have as an English person in the 25. He must have seen something there. And no, we can't all get it right. Even the great managers get some of them wrong. Now, me personally on Calvin Phillips, from what I used to see of him at Leeds, as long as he can stay injury-free, which he has struggled at City, I honestly think this would not be a bad buy, and it would, if he got back to his style at Leeds, be a step up from Højbjerg, because I feel he's a little bit more capable than Højbjerg.
Definitely.
Again, everybody knows Højbjerg is a player that I think is severely underrated. Again, not first team, but more than good enough for the squad. I think Phillips, if he goes back to his Leeds days, could definitely give a little push for the DM position, because this one all comes into me again on how Bentancur is going to come back. I must admit, I haven't got my high faiths in it, because I can't say that in 37 years of watching football that I've seen many players as a whole come back good from a serious ACL injury. I mean, look at Virgil van Dijk. Ever since he had that injury where he got scissored by Pickford, for me, he just hasn't been the same standard and the same quality of player. He's been a lot more wary. He's been a lot more easier to get past. Not that he's easy to get past, but he's been a lot easier. Whereas if you look on his stats before he got the injury, you couldn't even run the ball past the fella. And that is purely down to this ACL injury. What do you reckon on Bentancur, how he's going to come back with this? You wary of it?
Oh, I am wary of it. I'm aware that when you have an injury like that, it's a mental thing, because you're worrying about hurting yourself again. So when he's running, anything he does, he's going to be worrying, isn't he, about it? Because once you get an injury, normally it's easy for that to be reoccurring, right? Or for you to get another injury because you're overcompensating for that injury, because mentally you're thinking about it all the time. So it is a high possibility, although this has been his first big injury that he's had. Mm-hmm. It just, I think, depends on his body, whether he trusts his body and he doesn't overcompensate for it, like to make it so he gets another injury, like I say, elsewhere. I am a bit concerned about it, I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit kind of dubious about how is he going to come back, because he was so good, and I just don't know if we're going to see that again.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm on the same level as you on that. Okay, we've got a couple of people watching us. If you give us a like, it'd be appreciated. If you don't, it's up to you. But I'm definitely with you on that one. And I'm, people are saying it's just being negative. But I must admit, I'm more negative than positive on it, because of the history that I have seen with players. I can only go by what I've seen over the years, and I think there's only ever two players that I've ever seen come back to the same caliber than what they were after a serious injury like that. But who knows? Fingers crossed, Bentancur might come back solid. And if he does, that's a good midfield we got. And then if we've also got Sarr sitting in there, fighting to get in there, and also Phillips in there, I think we've definitely got a good spin on there. I think we could definitely have a good midfield with a good backup. I mean, there's certain games that I agree with people, like that certain players might fit into a bit better, like a more physical game. Like, say what the game we got against Palace. If Basuma's on there playing and he's still got his 4 yellow cards, I mean, personally, I wouldn't start him. I wouldn't start Basuma. I'd stick Højbjerg in there. Why? Because it's a very physical game, and I know Basuma can handle a physical game, but he's still got 4 yellow cards. And our next game will be Chelsea. And for me, that is going to be the hard game. I'm not saying Palace will be easy by any means. But I think we would miss Basuma a lot more at Chelsea than we would at Palace. And I personally think Højbjerg would do a good enough job at Palace. I mean, he's a physical player. He don't mind getting knocked all over the place. He gets stuck in. He does his bit. What do you reckon?
I do agree with you about Basuma. I do think that I wouldn't personally risk him. Although some people will say, listen, this is a way for him to prove himself that he can be mature, but there's always that risk. So for me, like I say, it's too much of a big risk. I wouldn't want to risk him for Chelsea. I really wouldn't, because Chelsea are starting to maybe click a little bit now. And they've got a few players back from injury. I'm a bit concerned. I don't think that's going to be an easy game like we thought at the beginning of the season, when they were getting just walked over by everybody. So I wouldn't want Basuma not to be there. So I don't know about Hotspur. I'm wondering if we could maybe jiggle it around and maybe have we haven't really, because don't forget that Johnson will be back. So maybe put Kulu, because Kulu's a strong player. He can hold the ball up. I would probably, I don't know if I want to see a Hotspur, because he's not progressive enough for the whole team. I wouldn't
time. Stick Kulusevski that far back. For me, if Kulusevski goes anywhere, he goes on to the left. Because the way I've been seeing a lot, we seem to be playing a more of a 4-2-3-1 most of the time, from what I notice. And for me, if I was to swap him for anybody, I'd swap places with where Maddison plays, and then maybe bring Maddison back. But then, it is a tricky one.
It's tricky, but
I mean, the reason box to box, I think Hotspur could be fine as a box to box. Basically, what I think Basuma does.
The problem is he's not as progressive, and I think for the whole game we're going to really miss Basuma in the way.
I'm sure we ain't. He's a quality player. Right. Of course, we're going to miss him.
So I think that I don't know. If we play Hotspur, I feel like we're playing for a draw. I don't think we're playing to win. That's what I will say.
I could understand that one, but we are very limited on our options, aren't we?
Yeah, so no, we are limited.
We're going to have to be careful because he's an idiot and he deserves a slap in the face for what he did. My personal opinion on what he did shouldn't have even been a yellow. It should have been a straight red card and a free match ban. Anyone diving like that, for me, off 3 games, you're out. That's my opinion on it. But yes, obviously, I'm glad it didn't happen to Basuma. But the idiot has got himself in this position. He's only got himself to blame for it. Now, other things that I've been checking up, there's actually meant to be a very serious thing in here from Sporting Lisbon willing to take Dyer off of us in January.
Yeah, that's correct.
As long as we're willing to give him away for free. I say let him go. Take him. Freebie, mate. Have the fella. Takes the wages off our back and everything and that. And then we can look for something else. It's another part of the old crap off the book. Do you reckon that would be a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't drive, but I'll drive into the airport. That's all well and good. I'll wave him bye-bye. I'll be like, off you go. See you later. Fantastic. Great
Potato. See you later, mate. Yeah, totally get you on that one. I think that's all we need to say on it. Yeah. Another one that we're actually meant to be quite serious on, and this is one thing I did say about Ange. I do think he is going to go fishing back at Celtic on a couple of things he knows there. Even though he swore down he wouldn't touch no one at Celtic, I still think he's going to look there. But this player isn't actually at Celtic. I mean, Jota done 2 seasons at Celtic, and from what I've worked out here, 28 goals, 26 assists in 83 matches. Now, I know the Scottish League is different to the Premiership. We all know that it is lower standards. But he seemed a very good player in what he was doing on there. And he seems to be one that Ange is very interested in him, in a sort of Johnson sort of thing, where you can either stick him out on the left or even play him up the middle if needs be. So for 24 million, because in Saudi Arabia, it just does not seem to be going right for him. He can't even get in the squad half the time. No,
he's not even registered at the moment.
No. And there's been a lot of issues, even on the point of his social media and that he's actually taken off the point that he plays for the club he plays for. What do you reckon that one would be an idea going for? 24 million, probably even cheaper.
I think that if Ange wants him, it's someone that Ange has worked with. So I think that's obviously ideal because he already knows the Ange way. Is it really? I think that he went for the money, and that's why he went over there. So sometimes you've got to maybe question his motives a little bit for him going over there. And now it's not working out. He's going to come back you know, and be like back saying, oh, please can I come to one of your clubs a little bit? And I don't know if he's got that attitude. Has he got the correct attitude? But only Ange knows this, and Ange will only take him if he thinks he's got the correct attitude. Don't get it twisted. There's no way that he will take him if he's got the wrong attitude. So I think
Ange does know him.
Ange that's what I'm saying. He knows him, so he'll only Ange will know if he's got that right attitude. So if he's got the right attitude in Ange's eyes, and Ange wants him, I think he'd be a fantastic addition to our team. I think he would.
Again,
because of
another one. And like I said, this is why I feel Ange will get backed. Okay, 24 million ain't cheap, but for these days, 24 million is what you would be paying for someone less than bang average these days. I find a lot of even mediocre players get bought for 50 million these days. So he has proved it in Celtic, and he did it very well. And there's been plenty of players that have been able to make it down here from that standard and step it up a standard, basically. I don't think he would be a bad call. And on that one, I think he's going to be one that we are going to have to trust Ange on. Now, the price he would cost, again, right up Levy Street. I think Ange is going to be going about looking for players just where he almost does it naturally, where he hasn't been at a big club. No matter what I keep saying it, and people keep saying me, you're being negative, he's done this, this and this. He has not done it in the Premiership. He hasn't done it in Serie A. He hasn't done it in Spain. They are the main three leagues, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, he's still learning as he goes now. But again, he's a manager that a lot of people would probably class as like a Brighton sort of manager. He's not used to having 100, 200 mil in his back pocket. And I reckon the man's already got his diary, without a doubt, of players that he likes, that he reckons he could get for the price tags that he's used to getting, that could definitely step it up a gear. Because when you've been in those situations, you have to be that sort of manager because you haven't got the money to spend. So I reckon he's going to have his little list, or obviously what he wants and that. I don't think the players that he's going to be looking for are going to be costing an arm and a leg. That is why I think Ange is going to get backed by Levy, because that sort of thing is going to be right up Levy Street. When he asks for 3 players that are going to cost 60 million, 75 million for 3 of them, instead of 75 million each, Levy's just going to be sitting there saying, thank you. Do you know what, mate? Take it, have it. But then there is that side of that. Well, being a Spurs fan and knowing what Daniel Levy's like, you're still going to have to look over your shoulder and just wait for something. But at the moment, like I've said with everything, so far, so good. And I do think he'd be a good addition. He'd definitely be good and fight for a place up front. Because I'm still very sceptical about some of the players we got up there. So a point that my partner on here, Tommy, made last night and asked me, Stelios and Dago a question on it. And I think I've already spoke to you about it before, but I'm going to bring it up again. Richarlison. What do we do with this man in January? Obviously, I'm going to give my opinion again on it, and I think everybody already knows it. But January, what do we do with this man, Mia? What do we do with him? What do you reckon?
Do you know what? I just don't think we'll be able to get rid of him in January. I'm going to be completely 100% honest with you. I don't know if any team will take him in Jan. If we can, I would say, maybe sell him and then look for somebody else, because it isn't working out as much as I'd like for it to work out. But if between now and January he just has a resurgence, I don't know what we would do if he did start hitting in those goals. But I don't know if he will, and it's a shame because I really wanted him to come good. But in January, I don't think nothing's going to happen. I think we're going to have to wait until summer before a decision's made on Richarlison. I'm going to be honest.
Do you know what? I could see it being like that, but me being realistic, I say get him out in January quick as you can. I know a lot of people would say, well, you have to replace him this and that. Well, Jota would be perfect for it, yeah? And stick him out on the left, stick him in the middle when needs be as such. Same as you can Johnson. They're not strikers, but they can cover that position. Like Son used to, whereas for me now, Son is a striker. He's not a winger anymore. He's a striker. But for me, Richarlison, you know what? I'd sell him for 20 mil, 10 mil, even if we didn't replace him. Because I personally think the player is a bloody liability. I've got my saying for him, and I'll say the phrase again: unscrew the man's head off for him, and that's just being nice. Put it on the side, let him on the pitch, and he really would look like a headless chicken on the pitch. I think he's terrible. And if we go and make the same mistake that we've made with several other players, like Ndombele, Lo Celso, Sanchez, even Dyer, some could say, you can't even give the bloody players away. Because it's got to that point where they are just so... people just don't even want to know him for free. I know his wages aren't the highest, whatever, but I think if we hang on to him until the end of the season, and his season just carries on to being as crap as it is and as crap as it was last year, I mean, what has he got for us? 4 goals. In how many games? I don't know exactly how many he's played, but he's definitely been there over a season now, yeah? 4 games for someone who was supposedly meant to replace Harry Kane. 4 goals. No, not a chance. I think if we don't get rid of him in January, we will struggle to even give the man away in the summer. So I reckon we should maybe try and push him over to Saudi or whatever and just get rid of him one way or another. Take the loss, take the cut. It's not working. It's not going to work. Get that man out of Tottenham. That is the way I see that one. Other thing I'm going to go to is I did say that nasty name. Question I've got for you. It's a question again that my mate Tommy brought up last night. And I got quite surprised with a couple of answers, if I tell you the truth. If we was to say, for instance, I know it's all hypothetical and there's a very good chance it never happens, yeah? But if we was to say win the FA Cup this year, and then we won the league next year, what would then be your opinion on Daniel Levy? Would you forgive everything he's done? Would you forgive and forget the past 24 years? Or would you still hold that with him as such? Or how would you deal with it? What would be your mentality towards it?
I think that I would maybe not completely forget what he's done. I think that I would have to say, I would be a bit like, okay, these things are good things, but they don't negate all of the bad stuff, like all the negative points. But it kind of does balance it out. And then I would say, I want you to continue on with this. I want you to continue on with the trajectory that we're going on. And I would want to see that. But I would give him credit, and I would say absolutely the reason that we've won isn't luck. He hired the people that got us to get it to this point, and he obviously bought the players. So I'd have to give him credit, a big props to that, like massive props, because that's what we all want, right? We all want trophies. So
credit where it's due, isn't it?
Yeah, so if we get those trophies, I'm going to absolutely say he deserves massive credit. If we win the Premier League, my goodness, that's a huge, huge thing. And I think that I would have to say, listen, he's moving us forward. Now let's see what happens. Because when you look at Liverpool won a lot of trophies. Now they had a bit of a dip, and now they're coming back. So you've got to also understand in football that can happen. You can have those little dips in when you've won stuff, and then the next time it can, unless you're Man City, sustaining it isn't always easy. But I think that it would be a massive step forward towards Daniel Levy moving in the direction that we all want, and that's what we want, right? We all want our club what's best for it, and that for us is winning stuff, being in that conversation on a regular basis, right? You know you're not going to win every time. When nobody's entitled to win. Nobody's entitled to win. So to assume that you're going to win just because you've won once, but no, that's not how it works. I think that you have to be reasonable and say, as long as we're in those conversations, I think that's what you want, right?
Yep. Well, one thing I'm going to have to go with here with what Elliot said. If we win one Premier League, it is no big achievement. Well, I'm not even going to read the rest of it. Yeah, I mean, winning the Premiership is a massive achievement, no matter what you do. Yeah, anyone winning the Premier League is a massive achievement. But the bit I'm definitely going to go on, and will agree with him on, is I will never forgive Levy for what he has done. Everybody is different. This is another thing which makes football very unique. Why? Because they say humans are unique. Why are we unique? Because, well, I won't say all of us, but most of us got our own minds. We got our own two eyes. Me and you can watch a game, and me and you can literally watch two different games. I'll see things on there that go over your head. You'll see things that go over my head. I'll look at something and say that's a yellow card. You'll look at it and say it's a red card. I'll look at the next one and I'll say that's a red card. You'll turn around and give me a funny look and go, what are you even talking about? He just went down. That wasn't even a yellow card sort of thing. This is why we all love football. This is why we all debate about football. I'm just not a forgiving person. Some people are. I will never, ever, ever forgive that man for what he has done at this club. Yeah. I mean, on the business side, with Levy, and no one can tell me any different. He has done an excellent job on the business side. Tottenham are now a club that can withhold themselves, that can stand themselves. We don't have to rely on selling players. We don't even have to rely on being in the Champions League and everything. Yes, I know that gives us the money for Levy, more to spend, whatever else. But my point is, there's a lot of other big clubs out there that actually can't hold themselves like we can. Chelsea definitely can't. The only reason Chelsea ever hold it is because they're a sugar daddy and because they sell players. And they do a very good job of selling youth players, getting them good and that. Tottenham, thank you to Daniel Levy, can actually hold themselves without having to rely on anything else. So on the business point of view, you can't fault the man. But on the football point of view, he just has not got a Scooby-Doo, has he? The fella has not got a clue. But on what you said, I'll go totally with that. Credit where credit is due. So far, so good. And we can only go by that. But I also think there would be, I can only go by personal opinion from what I see on here. I think you'd see 70% of Spurs supporters totally forget the past 24 years and love him to death from now on, basically. Each to their own at the end of the day. He wouldn't be getting that off me, but yeah, I'd be clapping and I'd say, do you know what? Fair play to Levy.
Do you know what? I think that what happens sometimes, Dan, is that too many people are blatant, like they say things like fans like you, or but to me, we're all fans. We're all fans. Everybody to me is equal, right? There's no fan above another fan's opinion or their, the way they see things, and that's absolutely fine. Everybody's got their individual opinion, but the problem we've got is that those people who maybe do forgive Levy, they're going to get called names. They're going to be told they're not allowed to forgive Levy. Well, I think we should all, just like you say, let people be, because everybody is different. No two people are the same. So you have to let people be, right? The thing is, the main thing I see is that we all love our club. We've all got, I always say this, right? My view is we've all got a path, and the end of the result is us being good, Tottenham, and what's best for Tottenham. Now, sometimes our paths cross because we agree on stuff, but we've all got our own separate path to get to the same point. And that's the whole thing, isn't it? Because we've all got our own little separate paths that we can cross sometimes over with our paths, but other times we're in different directions, and that's fine. It's okay to have difference of opinion. It's okay to think different. And if you want to forgive Daniel Levy, so be it. I'm not going to get upset with people about it. That's your opinion. I'm not going to get so upset about. Yeah, I'm not going to get so upset, Dan, about your opinion. You're saying you can't forgive him ever. I'm not going to go to you. I'm going to get so upset with you about that. That's absolutely fine. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to have that individual mind and thought. Like, nobody can tell anybody else how they can and can't support a club. I never tell you how you support them. You don't tell me, and I will refuse to tell anybody how they should and shouldn't support their club. At the end of the day, nobody is allowed to do that, in my opinion. And I would never, ever do that. If people want to protest still, if we win the Premier League and there's still people who want to protest, if that's up to them, so be it. If that's what they wish to do, that's up to them. I would never be against it. I'd say you're allowed your voice. you're allowed to express your opinion. That's fine.
Again, like the fella says here, and then when things go bad, don't cry if you choose to forgive him, basically, just because he got a title or two. It's not even about a crying thing. At the end of the day, forgiveness is a very big thing. For some people, it's not such a big thing. Again, this is where we're just all different. Me, I don't forgive. Same as I don't respect nobody when I first meet them. For me, respect is a very strong word. For me, respect means you earn my respect. I don't care who you are. I will give you common courtesy. I will give you credit where it's due, whatever. I will treat you like a human being, whatever. But for me, a person does not get respect off of me until they earn it. But that's just where I can be quite, yeah, it's just the way I look at things. Whereas other people believe people deserve respect, whatever. Again, Levy will never have my respect. He will never have my sympathy. He will never have my forgiveness. But if he goes and does good and he starts getting this rolling properly on the football side and everything, he will get my credit where it is due. But for me, there's just too much water under that bridge for forgiveness.
Joe, but the thing is, Dan, but you're not going to go and call people names. So Elias in here saying, oh, well, don't cry when you get called a Levy lover and a Levy shield. Well, no, because that's not.
You're not
good.
a Levy lover.
But that's
You've
what I'm
just
saying.
basically said the same thing as me.
But yeah, but no, he's saying in general. But I'm saying, but don't call people names. Just let people live. Like, you don't need to call people names for their opinions. Like, just don't call people names. Just don't do it. It's okay. If people want to forgive Dan Levy, you should say, well, personally, that's not me. But go ahead. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand this name calling thing, Dan. That's what I don't get. It's not right. It's not the right thing to do, man. We should just, like I say, we're all supporters and we all support them in a different way. And we shouldn't call people names. Just because you don't forgive Daniel Levy, am I going to call you a name? No. Like, why would I? Do you know what I'm saying? There's no need for it.
People start calling names in a self-defense sort of thing when they feel they've hit that part of that they can't give a logical reason. They start calling names. It's a self-defense manner. Pretty much all humans do it. Everybody does it one way or another. When you can't win that argument through logic, you then end up just slating someone. I mean, I'm not even going to go to this side of the planet, but the thing I will say is anything these days you disagree with it, you're labelled phobic on something. So that one just does not bother me in the slightest. Call me what you want. I will have my opinion. And when it's an opinion, no one can tell you you're wrong. Until there's a hardcore fact on the table, no one can tell you you're wrong. So everybody is entitled to their opinion. And I will just never forgive this man. The word forgive. But credit where credit is due. And I will not disrespect someone or slate them just because they have forgiven. I'll sit there and I'll think, well, do you know what? I couldn't do that, but then I'm not you. So it's not my problem. So why make it my problem? But some people like to make it their problem, don't they?
The thing is, he's saying now that Sol Campbell, but Sol Campbell isn't a fellow fan. You're calling fellow fans names. Like, we all support the club. He did something and he basically went off and lied to us as someone who was our academy player and lied about staying and then went to the enemy. So that is the reason why he gets called a Judas. And that's nothing to do with you personally as a fan. If you liked, right, I'll give you an example. If you liked Sol Campbell, I'm not going to call you a Judas lover. I'll say to you, cool. If you want to like the Judas, listen, man, I hate him for what he did to my club. But you, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. But I'm not going to call you a Judas lover. That's just silly. Why would I do that? You're a fellow fan.
Again, it's each to their right. It's each to their own. I wouldn't let it bug you because sure as hell it don't bug me. So, like I say, with a lot of football, it's just opinionated, most of it. But some people just don't even like to talk opinions. They seem to think their opinions are facts. Let's drift it from that one because I can see people do get touchy about it. Right, with Ange, again, so far so good. But I watched a massive argument the other day with Ian Wright, Roy Keane, Neville, and that other waste of space Carragher. But again, that's a purely personal opinion. Some are saying that he's handling this pressure really well since he's worked from the minute he's been at Spurs, yeah? The other was saying, what are you talking about? What pressure has he had at Spurs? No one was expecting us to do good. No one was waiting for us to do good. No fans were really expecting anything off of him. I mean, if we'd have finished 8th, 7th again, no one would have been happy, but no one would have been really had the ump with him. For me, he had one of the easiest jobs ever a manager has ever had. Reason being, to win the fan base over, as all Ange actually had to do was just change style of football and start attacking. Even if we was in 7th place at the moment, as long as we was playing attacking football, he would still have a high majority of fans on his side. So in that aspect, I think he actually had quite an easy job in that aspect. Obviously, to what he's done now and everything, it's never going to be easy. But I definitely think he had an easier job of winning over the fans than easily 90% of other managers that I've seen go into clubs. So they was having a big argument on it, on how he's handled the pressure from day one and whatever else. And another one saying he hasn't had no pressure from day one. What do you reckon on the pressure on Ange from day one? What do you reckon on the pressure he's had or hasn't had?
So the pressure I would say that he has had, because I kind of agree with both sides of this actually, is that the pressure he has is following a big manager like Conte. I think that that's a pressure because he hasn't been known in the Premier League, and there's a lot of people saying, oh, he's only managed in Scotland, he's only managed in Japan and Australia. That's a pressure, right? I think that we've got to admit that that is some kind of pressure. But like you say, the actual pressure when it comes to how well we like people thought we would do, there's definitely no pressure, because I even said 6th, 7th is fine for me this season, and I stick to that. I still stick by that. So I think that there's no pressures in where our expectations are from him doing what we do this season. I think that there's pressure on him as a manager coming in to a Premier League when he's been managing a long time, and a lot of people said, oh, it's only Scotland, it's only Australia, blah, blah. So I think that he did have pressure following a big manager like Conte when he is a relatively unknown manager. So I think there's probably a side to both of them. There's probably a kind of reasoning for both sides of the story.
I can definitely agree that there's no way you can say a manager goes into a club with no pressure whatsoever. I mean, to me, that's a bit of a stupid comment, because especially with the mess Spurs was in that he walked into, there must have definitely been some pressure on him, like, wow, how do I sort this hole out? Because it was a total mess. But again, like I said on the other side, there was other sides of pressure that I didn't feel the man really had, because he could fix them in a matter of seconds, which he did. And that was get us playing attacking football. That's no disrespect to the man whatsoever. No disrespect to the man whatsoever. He's done a great job so far. Again, I keep using this phrase and I will use it all the time. So far, so good. So fair play to the man. But I definitely do agree that maybe he hasn't had the exact hardcore amount of pressure that some people make out that he's dealt with. I don't think it's been as hard as other times other managers have stepped in. Because like I said, there was bits he could win over quite easily and then focus on the other problems. But again, so far, so good. There is no complaint from me here out of this one. Not at all. Yeah. Now, the other things keep reading about all the time. I'm going to drift this one off, not just to Spurs here, but just an opinion, because it's something that keeps bugging on everybody's mind. And no matter what we do, week in, week out, game in, game out, it's always going to get spoke about. VAR. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of hearing about Liverpool supporters still going on about it. They're still dragging on about it, how we stole them a game and everything else and that, and how they deserve this and how they deserve that. I just have one message that I give to Liverpool fans over this situation. There's your victim card, mate. Get on with it.
Did you see Madders? Did you see Madders bantering
yeah.
on? Oh, that was brilliant. Still asking for a replay. I was like, yes, Madders. Yeah. He's got top bants, that guy. Honestly.
Yeah. Proper. And and they're still going on about it. Do you know what? I couldn't care less. If they're going to be like that still and still go on about it, then do you know what? I'm going to sit back and say I want the Champions League final replayed, because that wasn't a handball. But drifting from it, what do you think on VAR? And then what you think on it, what do you think we've got to do as in to change it to make it work, or do we just totally drop it? What is it doing to the game? Your whole opinion on VAR.
VAR hasn't improved anything, right? Because don't forget, we had a human on the field making those decisions, the referee, and he got those decisions wrong. Now we've just got another 5 people making decisions. So it's, you know, it just makes it more difficult because there's more people who could potentially make a mistake because of human error, you know? Like there's that human error element of things. So yeah, so for me, it's just ruining everything by adding more people to the mix. I personally, if we're going to keep VAR, this is how I personally would do it. I would say everything gets checked 90 seconds. If they can't decide in 90 seconds, have 2 people in the VAR room, one to check, one to double check. If they can't decide in 90 seconds, then it just goes back to what the referee said. If they do think there's something, then the referee goes and checks it. That way, the referee makes the final decision still, and there is still going to be interpretation, and also have a mic so we can hear what they're saying. I think that would relieve so much stuff, because decisions, people are like, oh, but we want to get the right decision. Yeah, but we don't. If they're taking 5 minutes, it's obviously not clear and obvious. So if it's not clear and obvious, if the referee's made that decision, the final decision should always be the referees and not VARs. I think that would mean that the referee has more power again. And then, like I say, referees are always going to make mistakes as well and have decisions where we're not going to agree. So it's fine.
Well, you know what I said to you earlier, yeah? We all see games through our own 2 eyes. We all see games different, yeah? Even referees do this. They're only human. What is a yellow card to one ref is a red card to another. What is a handball to one? I mean, I'll go to the handball one in a minute. But you can have all the equipment on the planet, but as long as you've got humans using it, there is still going to be controversy. There's still going to be problems. There's still going to be mistakes. Even if you've got the perfect bit of equipment, even if you've got the perfect car, someone's still going to reverse it into a lamppost. It happens. I'm a big believer that, do you know what? I think VAR is killing this game. It is absolutely destroying it. I can get why they use it. I can get why they want it. There's so much money involved. Everybody wants the right decisions. But do you know what the biggest joke would have been? Isn't it, even if VAR wouldn't have checked that goal, that offside, it would have still been offside anyway, because the linesman got it tits up as well. So either way, on that one, it was a lose-lose situation. But I think VAR is just destroying it. And I think there's so much pressure now being put on the people doing the VAR. They've almost got more pressure than the referees now. And for me, it's just one, no matter what they do, you are still going to get wrong decisions. I personally think they should just scrap the whole thing and get on with the bloody game. But that's just my opinion to it. It's like going on. It's like going on to the other thing, the handball rule. I've had this debate with a couple of people now. I don't understand it. I genuinely don't understand what a handball is. When someone goes and shows it to me that a handball is intentionally when a person has touched the ball with his hand. Well, to me, that makes it that 99% of handballs and handball penalties aren't a handball. Because I'd say 98% of the time, they don't intend to do it. And the rule says it's got to be intentional in that. So I know there's loads of little rules that go with it. I don't understand how handball works anymore. Can you help me?
No, because I don't either. There was a handball at the weekend that was no different really to Romero's one. Had his arm out. I'm sure it was Liverpool against Brighton. I'm sure it was Liverpool going against Brighton. Had his arm out. Wasn't a pen. So it just changes. And to me, I was in another chat on a big channel, and they pulled up my chat because they were talking that every handball should be a penalty, and I was like, But then people are just going to, managers are just going to say, kick the ball at their arm. If every time you see a man's arm out a little bit and you kick the ball at it, if that's a penalty, then we're going to get into ridiculous stakes of them just kicking the ball at people's hands to try and get a penalty. Why would you? You don't want that in football, surely. You don't want the handball rule to be that. But you don't want them to keep getting penalties like that.
The problem is, if it's like what happened with Romero, yeah. The reason I said that was a handball, even though he was in a logic position in the way he was going, the momentum, his arm was up and it did hit his hand against his will, I know. And it did block a goal as far as I'm concerned, because from the pictures I've seen, there was only one person standing on the post. Some people say two were standing there. I only see one. Maybe I need to see the pictures again. But it blocked the goal, so I could understand why it was a penalty. But it wasn't his fault. So, and there was no intention. So by those rules, it shouldn't have been a handball. If that would have happened anywhere else in the penalty area, that wouldn't have been a penalty, would it?
So, no, because like I say, the one that we saw at the weekend, that wasn't given. And his arm was out. He was standing with his arm out, where Romero was sort of falling and he couldn't, he was trying to kick the ball away, and he just sort of, when the player kicked it at him, when he was going because he was going one way and the player kicked it at his arm and he had to balance. So he would have fallen flat on his face if he didn't have the arm to balance. And that's a natural position when you're balancing. Nobody could have done that without, no one could balance like that, basically. You'd have to be some sort of immense sort of person to be able to balance without using your arm in that sense.
You're basically, you're a human, you're not a robot.
Yeah.
But it's just one of them rules that is going to, if they ever get it right, it's a very hard rule to make to actually get right. I think the main thing they miss on is consistency. Same as practically everything. What should be a yellow card in one game should be a yellow card in another game. If that fouls a yellow card or red card there, it should be the same there. But again, we go back to the problem we see at the start of what me and you spoke about, is everybody sees football different, even referees, even though they should be trained better to see it a certain way, because it's a very professional job they're doing. But this handball thing is just going to keep going on and on and on all the time, and you're always going to get it. I can't stand the way that the defenders have to go in with their arms behind their back now and everything, because they're so scared of the ball hitting their hands and that. Half of them can't even go in for a tackle anymore and keep their balance anymore because they've got their hands wedged behind their back. So surely there's got to be a way they can come out with something that can make this easier.
You would think so, right? But it just doesn't seem to be the case. Like I say, handballs are given one week and not given the next. Like, it's just, there's no consistency. Because like you say, it's individual. But I think because what they do every year, they change the rule and slightly adjust it, especially with handball. Like, stop adjusting it. Just stick to a rule so then we know what the bloody rule is so we can all understand it. And then the referees will have better understanding. Because if we don't understand it, how the hell are the referees supposed to determine what is what, considering the rules? And when you read the rules, it is a very difficult one. When you read them, it is a bit sketchy. In my eyes, that rule, when you read the rules, it wasn't a handball from Romero because he was in a natural position, because he was falling. It's a bit
I
like
can understand why.
So, and it's a bit like when Lucas Moura fell and he got given got given as a handball because he fell over and touched the ball. Now, what's he supposed to do when he's falling over? What's he supposed to do? Like, do you know what I'm saying? It's these silly
Virgil
things.
van Dijk's arm was out when it hit him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The other day.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No consistency, is it? That's one of the biggest problems.
It's silly because there's no consistency.
I mean, seeing as we're talking about that one as well, there's another one I want to go to as well. And yes, it involves VAR and everything. It involves a whole lot. Offside. Mate, it has just got to the point where this offside thing, it does my head in. Really does. I think one of the most intelligent things I ever heard of a manager, and yeah, it might make some people upset, Arsene Wenger. I think he said it about 15 years ago. maybe even 20 years ago. Offside should be when there is light between the people, basically. I get what he means. The way I would do an offside is by the feet, because we are playing football. No, right? If someone's got bigger shoes than the other, he's in a bit of trouble, but life can be like that. But if his body is past the other person's feet, I don't think that should be offside. If his hand is past the line as such, I don't think that should be offside. Even if his whole body and his kneecaps are past the line, I don't think that should be offside. Offside should be purely down to where the feet are placed when the ball is crossed, passed, whatever. And I think if they stuck to that one, yeah, you'd still get a couple of tricky situations. But for a player getting caught offside because he's got a long fingernail or something, that don't work for me. And I think they make their own life too hard with it. Again, we're playing football. So why does it matter where your arms are? Why does it matter where your body is? It should purely matter where your feet is. Would you reckon?
It's about whether you gain an advantage, right? Whether you gain that advantage. But if your feet are equal to someone else's feet, then I don't really understand what advantage your body is gaining you, because you're not moving. Do you know what I mean? Like, the only part
it's
of
momentum, isn't it? Basically,
yeah, it's
when
momentum.
You run, you lean forward, don't you? You
lean,
can't. You only start leaning back when you're sprinting, so you're going to lean forward for it. Exactly. So why should that be offside?
That's what my point is that you're not necessarily, how much of an advantage are you really gaining by having your ball forward, your body leaning forward a bit, because your feet have to catch up, because otherwise you're not going to get to the ball. Even if you touch the ball with your chest, you have to catch up with your feet, right? You can't, do you know what I'm saying? So I don't really understand what advantage it really gains, like gives you, like if your body is that bit ahead. I don't understand how much an advantage that really gives you. Because when they flag it, the linesmen are looking at bodies and feet. Surely they're looking if they're equal, like, to each other. And like, I get it, but to me, I think, yeah, it's got to be about your feet. I agree with you, because I feel like your body, like I say, doesn't give you enough of an advantage for it to be offside. So,
yeah. I'm 100% with you. Again, it's another rule that they keep chopping and changing and playing about with and everything to try and get it pinpoint right, when I personally think they can make their lives a lot easier. I don't think the body should have anything to do with offside. It should be purely down to the feet, as we are playing football.
Well,
looks like we agree on that one.
Look at some Southview Coys. I don't know which one of you it is. I don't know if it's the Disney loving one or not. Marlon the other day. Semi-automated offside was not agreed to, basically, by the Premier League teams. So if Liverpool are one of those teams that didn't agree to it, then that's on them, innit? Because we could have had the semi-automated service.
There you go. And I can't even fit why would teams not even want to vote that in? That basically gives everyone an advantage, doesn't it? Well, I say an advantage. Well, yeah, that gives everyone more able to play, doesn't it? So why would they vote against that?
I don't know. Surely we want more goals. Surely we want more goals. And it used to be advantage to the attacker, right? So yeah, it just feels like that they don't want that anymore. They don't want to give the advantage. And if we don't have the automated service and it takes more than 90 seconds to see if someone's offside, then it should be whatever. If the linesman flagged it, it's offside. If he didn't, it isn't. Because to me, it's ridiculous. If they've got to check and zoom in on lines that much to see, we had a couple that were definitely not offside, and we never got no apology about it, that they apologised.
Exactly. I mean, what the fella Darryl said, long as they keep changing the rules every season, football will always have problems. Mate,
exactly.
You're 1,000% right. But to get where we want to get to, we're going to have to change the rules again sooner or later. So it's a bit of a no-win situation, but I make him 100% right. That is half the problem. It's where we keep changing the rules over and over again. So, yeah, when it comes to those ones, I think we leave that one at that, because it's too agitating to keep just going on against. Right, now it's the international break. I don't like these international breaks. I really don't. Because without fail, players always come back injured. Maybe not necessarily at your club, but other clubs. And one way or another, players from clubs come back injured. And we are definitely dreading something happening to Maddison or Son. And definitely Romero, because he seems to have a bit of a habit of going out to his Argentina games and coming back with an injury, doesn't he? So these international breaks and what they're played for and everything, definitely way too many of them. Would you reckon?
Yeah, it's an anxious time for me because I feel like worried the whole time. I'm like, oh God, who's going to get an injury? Like, I absolutely hate these international breaks, especially as we know our squad is so scarce. Like, it's just a massive, massive worry. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like it. I really don't.
Nor do I. I mean, I get it. There has to be international breaks because there has to be qualifying games, whatever else. But even this is where my memory is. What is that cup that they do? That international cup, whatever it is. What's the bloody actual name of it?
Oh, I know the one.
International, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't even know why they bother doing that. Nobody really wants it. Nobody really cares about it. It doesn't mean anything if you bloody win it or anything. It's just another way to get the international people obviously playing international football. But that definitely makes life hard for our clubs. I mean, Maddison, I think he's going to get played, and Southgate, being the idiot that he is, will go and play him on the left wing. I'm not saying that Maddison can't handle that; he can. But why England don't just play a 4-2-3-1 and stick Maddison behind Kane? Just
ridiculous, isn't it?
It's literally perfect. And then you've got someone like Grealish or Foden and Saka on the right. That would be deadly. That would scare people. That would scare me if I was playing against that, even if I was French. But he don't. To me, he's just basically another Conte or Mourinho style,
yes,
isn't
he? He is. It is just like watching Conte ball. When I watched it, last time I was just like, oh my God, this is just like watching Conte ball. I want Ange ball back. I was like, I want my Ange back. I can't watch this. This is nonsense.
I mean, so even on the international side of it, it gets on my nerves watching it as well because of the type of manager we got. When we have got a very, very good attacking team. Yeah, all right, defence might leave a little bit to be desired. Why he still puts Harry Maguire in there and that, I will never know. I mean, and Henderson, what the hell was he doing on there? Again, what was that one all about? I just don't get it. But he's another one that until England take advantage of what they've got, I just don't see us going all the way, basically. I mean, how do you reckon we're going to do in the Euros coming up?
Do you know what? It's weird because although we play boring football, we seem to get somewhere with him. But I think that if we carry on playing like this, we're not going to do well because I just think we've got so many attacking options, and to play this defensive football is just absolutely pants, man. It is pants, and other teams are going to they're going to figure you out, just like they did with Conte. They're going to figure it out, aren't they? So I just think, no, I don't think they're going to do that well, to be honest.
It's when it comes to the crunch, isn't it? I mean, in that game we lost in the final against Italy, we should have gone for the kill. We didn't. We got the goal and we sat back and it bit us right in the arse. Again, Conte style of football. I'm just glad we're not playing that football anymore. Now, a lot of people grill this thing that a lot of other people are saying is the Ange system, yeah? Because they say, like, well, Pep Guardiola's been doing it for the past year or so. Yeah, but Ange's been playing this style of football since he started doing football. It just doesn't get noticed because he hasn't been in any of the big leagues. He only actually started getting noticed when he started playing it with Celtic, didn't he? So a lot of people grill it. Why'd they call it Ange ball, this and that? Do you know what? Call it what you bloody want. I don't care. To me, it's a 4-2-3-1 formation, and they're playing their way.
It was basically when he worked with Cruyff, when he had him as manager, that he decided that that's the way he always wanted to play. That's where he got it from. Before he became a manager and he was playing football, And yeah, he did say that. He said that he learnt that, and he didn't want to play any other way. He knew from then on that's how football should be played.
Yep. So it should, definitely. I mean, I think we've gone past the years now where you can just play out and out counter-attack football. Again, I get it. Some clubs, they don't really have the option to play attacking football at all times, but defending all the time is not going to get you nowhere. All right, there's certain games, like the game we had against Luton, we did have to go defensive. And they did put the pressure on us. And again, we was lucky. I mean, that miss by the Luton player was even worse than Richarlison's. And that takes some effort to do that. Last thing I'm going to go on to is, right, we all know January is a massive thing. Will Ange get backed? Will we buy players? How long will it take to get the players? What sort of players will we get? It's going to be... Oh, just want to make a quick one here. Massive thank you, David. Much appreciated, mate. Finally found you both. Love the Spurs community. Mia, sorry I missed you the latest. Watched it back. Thank you very much, mate. It's much appreciated.
Big up to David. He's a lovely guy. Very, very generous with all of the channels, man. He's such a generous, lovely guy.
Thanks a lot. Fair play, fella. Thank you very much. But with what's going to happen in January, is going to be a major thing to this season. That's if we can even ride out December. Because December's like 7 games, if I got that right. 6, 7 games.
7,
that's going to take some damage. So obviously, January is big. What do you want to see happen in January? How do you want to see it happen?
I want to see us getting some defenders. I think a centre back is really vital. Possibly a left back as well. Replacement for Hotspur if he goes. But we do have to get some players out, because obviously the players that are registered, we're full to capacity. So I think we definitely have to get some players out to get some players in. That's my belief. So if Dyer goes, Hotspur goes, and Lloris goes, we've got then 3 players to be able to bring in if we can. So yeah, I think they're the positions. Personally, I feel like the front 3 can be jiggled about. When everybody's fit, we can mix it up a little bit. So I don't know if necessarily we're going to actually get anybody striker as much as people want one. I just don't think we will unless Richie goes.
Do you know what? The problem is with the word striker is we seem to go through these years in football, basically, I find, yeah. But when I was watching football from 80s, 90s, 2010, 20, whatever, you seem to go through stages where for 5 years, 6 years, cool. I don't know what people look on as a generation. Some say 5 years, some say 10 years. Let's say 5 years, yeah. There'll be strikers everywhere. You can't get enough of them. But there will be such a lack of defenders that you just can't find one, whether it's January, February, March, or whether it's the summer, or you just can't find them. At the moment, we are going through that phase at the moment in football as a whole, I believe, where come love nor money, it is not far off. I won't say impossible, but it's bloody hard to find a striker, isn't it? I mean, how many strikers, out and out good strikers, can you even name around the planet now? I mean, yes, we got a couple of world-class ones, but as a whole, quality strikers are very few and far between at the moment. So I think that's definitely a job that it's not going to be easy to do. A lot of clubs are having to do with what we've basically done with Son, and that's move a good inverted winger who can score a goal and start playing him as a striker. I mean, for options, I think, yes, we've got the option of that fella. I can't remember his name. Again, terrible with names, from Ghent, I think it is. And we've got Ivan Toney we can go for, who Arsenal are also interested in. Now, a lot of people say to me they don't think Ivan Toney would work this way. He wouldn't work for this and whatever. I personally think different. I personally think Ivan Toney would be a very would be a very good buy. And I think we could get him for about 50 million. But then when you've got players like Arsenal looking about him, who need him desperately, even more than we do, it's a tricky one. Where do we get the striker from? I can't really think of any other good strikers out there to go for that we could actually get, because they're so limited, aren't they?
They are limited. Personally, I think that we won't pay the money that they want for Tony. I just don't think that's going to happen. He's looking like he would go Chelsea or Arsenal, I think, because they're mugs and they'll pay big money for him. I don't think he's worth the money that they're quoting for him either, to be honest with you.
No? You don't rate the player?
Oh, no, listen, I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's worth that much. I don't think he's Harry Kane levels, and they want
sure he ain't.
They want more Harry Kane prices, and I understand that prices have gone up a lot for different players, etc. But I do think we have got, like someone said, Orban. There is Gift Orban, since we've been linked, we were linked with him.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Gone down a little bit. Kaigo, he's another one that Ange's worked with. That if we could get him. He was very good under Ange. He scored a lot of goals under Ange.
He was the little fellow up at Celtic, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are players. I think that what we've got to understand is maybe a goal scorer isn't what we had before. So it won't be like a Harry Kane, if that makes sense.
Harry Kane was a complete striker.
Yeah, that's what I say.
I will say Harry Kane is a better footballer than Haaland. Why? Because Harry Kane is a complete striker. He can even set himself up. He can score left. He can score right. He can score header. He can go midfield. He's just a complete player. Whereas Haaland, at what he does, he's just an animal. But if you don't feed him, he don't produce, because he can't do it himself. But that's an old cool striker. Like Shevchenko used to be like that. Excellent goal scorer. But unless someone could feed him, he couldn't do nothing for himself. There's no point in even looking for Harry Kane. There's just no point, because there is not one out there that is the equivalent of what Harry Kane is. But I don't think striker is something we necessarily need to go for in January, because I think we've still got enough players, even if we get injuries and that could cover that position just about good enough. I think even in a worst case situation, you could even stick Kulusevski there and basically play him as a target man. And basically, right, stay there, mate. Don't move. Get the ball. Just kick it at the bloody net. And when you've got someone like Maddison there, he will get balls through. And if we get Porro on the right, or I don't know how good Johnson's crossing is or whatever, or even we can feed Johnson into the middle if needs be. And God forbid, if we still got Richarlison, he can go there, whatever and that. But we have got that position a little bit covered up until next year, I reckon. That defence has to get added to, without a doubt. And I think that midfield definitely needs to be built on, because of where we're going to lose Basuma, Sarr as well. So what positions do you want to see covered? How do you want to see it done? How do you want this transfer window to be done?
I really want us to get rid of Dyer and get a centre back in that can cover, because, as I said before, if you can cover the centre back, if you can get someone who can go on the left, then Van de Ven can go on the left if we do lose and Adoji, so we can sort of work with it. So for me, that is vital. I just said that anyway. I don't think we're going to need someone in a striker or someone for an attacker. I don't think we're going to get an attacker. I don't think we are in January. I think we're only going to get someone to centre back, and if Hojbjerg leaves, I think we're going to get a Hojbjerg replacement. So I think they're the two that we are more likely to get than anybody. And I would say that if everybody stays fit, I think that would be okay. Because if Bentancur comes back, even if he isn't playing all of the games, if we get a replacement for Hojbjerg, I feel that we would have enough to cover. I think, anyway.
I mean, for me in that one, even if we kept Hojbjerg till the end of the season and got a replacement for Skip, that would even be better for me, because again, Skip is another one. At Norwich, he had a spectacular season. I mean, literally excellent. And then everything after that, I just don't think I think he's Premiership quality, but I'd say mid-table club at best. And with David, yeah, Jota. Well, if he's free, mate, I'd go for it straight away, because what I was reading in the papers earlier this morning is we're looking at him for about 24 million, and 24 million, I'd snap that up quite happily as well. But definitely one that would be worth going. He done brilliant at Celtic. I mean, why he even went over there, we all know it was purely because of the money. But for career reasons, I don't know. But either way, that one's down to him. Now, the way I want to see January dealt with, my mate who was on Tommy and my show last night, we had Stelios with us and Brian Daigle. I think Brian put it perfect. And I practically agreed with every word he said. So I'm basically just going to repeat what he said. I don't care whether the players cost 60 million. I don't care whether they cost 20 million. I don't care whether they cost 5 million. As long as they are the players that Ange wants, I'll be a happy man. If we get 3 of them and it costs us 20 million, over the moon. I know Levy will be, without a doubt. If it's 3 players and it costs us 60 million, as long as they are the ones that Ange wants, I'm cool. Even though you are going to get Spurs supporters out there claiming that he's doing it cheap again, we're only getting 20, 15 million players. Like everyone did, I say everyone, sorry. A lot of people did with the goalkeeper who said we went for the cheap one and almost wanted him to fail so they could have a dig at Levy. Well, that one's definitely come good, hasn't it? The main thing is going to be, and again, I'm basically just repeating what Brian said last night, is how we deal with these subs, how we deal with these buys in January. Now, if we go and get all the players that Ange wants, we need it done in the first week. In that first week, they need to be ready to play. Not that we wait until the end, like we did with Porro, and get him on the last bloody day. That isn't going to do us no favours. It's not going to do us no favours at all. All right, if it's 3 players we want and we get 2 of them within the first week and 1 of them on the last day, do you know what? I'll deal with that one, yeah? But we got to get these players in fast, haven't we? We need to start making these deals in December, don't we? Not waiting until the end of January to save bloody £2 million, or because we're just taking our time getting it done like we do. We need to get these done quick, don't we?
Do you know what I will say? And people are going to say again, I've defended them with Levy, but I just think these are the facts. Well, we don't know these are the facts, but the fact is that sometimes it isn't just Tottenham, sometimes it is the other club. So with Van der Ven, they mucked us about a little bit, and that was a known thing that they did muck us about. So sometimes it isn't always about getting, because don't forget you've got to be careful when you're doing deals because of obviously tapping up and obviously speaking to players early. You do have to be a little bit cautious. But sometimes it isn't always not for the want of trying to get a player in early, let's just say. Sometimes the other clubs do mess about, and that is a problem. But I do agree with you. We need to make sure that we've got deals that we want. Like we can say, right, we want these players, let's go and try and get this deal done. And if it doesn't work out and they're being like messing you about, move to the next one, like we did with Vicario. Raya, they messed us about with Raya. What did we do? Within 24 hours, we had Vicario. That's the kind of business that we need to do, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. It needs to get done sharp. But I do find a lot of these deals don't happen quick because Levy, as the businessman he is trying to save a pound out of a penny all the time. And it's obvious he does do that. This time, I'm not saying go and pay 50 million for a 20 million player or something like that. If your boss went and done that, you call him stupid as well. But we got to get these ones done fast. And if that means he's got to take an extra million or 2 out of his pocket just to slam it on the table and get the job done quick, I think that is definitely what he needs to be. And that is where we're definitely going to see how deep he is back in the whole system as such. But January, yes, it's a major thing. So if the injuries aren't too bad and January goes, let's just say, respectful, good enough, where do you reckon this can take us by the end of the season?
I think we'll get into Europe of some sorts, either Europa or Champions League. I really do. I think that's as far as it will take us. I don't think we'll go any further with it because I think other teams are much stronger. Don't forget they're also going to strengthen possibly in January. So depending on their injuries. So for me, I still am keeping a reasonable expectation, Dan, of some sort of Europe.
I think we can definitely get a European place. I mean, a lot of it is going to come down to injuries at the end of the day and what we do in January. I do think at the start of the season, I looked at 8th place at best because I thought this was just going to be rocky, up and down, up and down, up and down. It still might end up like that. But again, you can only go by what I keep saying. So far, so good. So I'm looking at more. I don't know if we're quite good enough for top 4 as a squad as a whole. First 11, yeah, I could go with that. But as a squad as a whole, at the moment, definitely not. Because it is really going to start showing. So that's where we go to how good January does us. I'm looking at hopefully we can get at least a 5th. Because 5th is Champions League this year, isn't it? And if I remember right from what I read, someone please do tell me if I'm wrong here. Whoever finishes 5th doesn't necessarily straight get into the Champions League. They have to have a recent history in the Champions League. If you want to be technical, we've got a better history in the Champions League than Arsenal in the past 10 years. We've been in it, 6 times? I think 7 times, maybe even.
Yeah. The time that we should have got in it because of bloody Chelsea, and then they changed the bloody rule.
But I reckon 5th place would get us Champions League this year. And I reckon we are capable of getting 5th place. But yeah, overall, I'll agree with this man here, Stefan. Top 6 is what I'm honestly looking at now. And it would be a good season. But I think we can sneak 5th place and get that little Champions League spot. Then the big question is how far is Levy going to back him then? Because we keep always going back to this Levy thing. No matter how well we do in the next 3 or 4 years, being a Spurs supporter for 37 years and just being honest, I've still got my eye on my shoulder. I'm always going to be looking over my shoulder thinking, what is this sneaky fella up to? But yeah, I'll go with top 6. 5th place is what I'm hoping Spurs can get. If we get top 4, whatever, brilliant. But I just don't think we have a squad capable of taking it that far yet. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I meant Champions League possibly as in 5th. I'm still saying 6th, 7th. Yeah. And if we can get Champions League as 5th, then that would be excellent. Yeah, that would be excellent considering it's Andrew's first season. And I think that would be a massive achievement for us to be able to do that in his first season because I don't think any of us would have expected it. So, yeah, for me, definitely that would be a big one. But yeah, for me, 6th, 7th is where I'm setting my expectations.
Yeah, and I can't see why we can't go for 5th place. I mean, always go for higher because if you put yourself a limit to go for, then you sort of get to it and it's like, where do I go for here sort of thing. I feel if you give yourself a limit, a ceiling, whatever they want to bloody call it, once some people hit it, they don't know where to take it from there. So obviously go for the title, go for everything in that. But on the realistic manner side of it, I think we're definitely capable of getting a 5th place. And I'll be happy with that. I'll be over the moon with that. And then you can definitely see that there's progress being made. There's progress being made with the football. I mean, Stelios gave us a very good of what he sees go on behind the lines and everything and that on how the way the club's being made now. The way the club's being made in the way of, right, we've got our style of play now and we're going to stick to it and we're only going to buy players that like in youth academy and first team, under 21s, whatever, that work for the style of play that we are now using. And those were the exact words out of his mouth. I take them gospel. So other people saying about, they think it's stupid when people talk about a process, this and that and everything else. Yes, they are cheesy words. But at the end of the day, there has to be a process. There has to be, maybe someone can come up for a better word for me. There has to be a plan. Yes, it's all good doing things off the top of your head sometimes, and you can win through spontaneous. But 9 times out of 10, you have to have a plan. And the plan so far, so good, because I think it's definitely pissing off other teams that seem to have taken 6 years to get this plan working. If we actually have a look at it, I think this plan's actually been working in the background a bit longer than we might have realised in the youth academy side. But not many people really realise that one. I can't say I do until Stelios told me to have a look at it, and then I did, and it was like, oh yeah, like maybe it's been changing a bit longer over 10 months. Other one quickly, I'm also glad we're keeping Paratici. He might not be the main man as such, but you know he's going to be the man on the phone that still gets a lot of things done and then sends it over to the new director of football, technical director, whatever they want to call it. So he's another one I'm definitely glad we're keeping. Because, yes, there's some buys that have gone wrong, but there's also some buys that have been very good. And one last player I want to see get a chance, given a chance, and I think Luton might have been his ideal one, but maybe he wasn't fit enough, is I think Brian Gill could match with this style of football that Ange plays very, very good. What do you reckon on that?
Yeah, we've spoken about him. I think that he definitely needs to strengthen up a little bit, and I think he'd be good if he can do that, because I think that's probably one thing I would be concerned about. But if he does, I think he's got all the attributes that Ange would actually want. Absolutely.
He's quick on his toes. He can pass a good little short ball.
He can do a little
got a power shot on him, but he can place it. He's very twinkle-toed, isn't he?
Yeah, so I was about to say he can bob and weave, can't he? So I think that he's definitely got all the attributes that Ange would look for in a player. Forward thinking. He's agile. He's got everything. So I just think that a little bit more strength on him, and I would be less concerned. I know that, like I said to you before, they need to be slim. Wingers generally are slim, but it's about being strong. You don't have to be built big to be strong. You can be slim and be strong.
Being able to stay on the ball and not just get flicked off it like a fly.
I'll give you a good example of people that are slim but strong. Ballerinas. When you look at ballerinas, they can lift, like the men lift up these girls, and they do it on their tiptoes and everything. That is pure strength. And
that just makes me cringe of the pain that would cause.
Yeah, but Joe, what though? They're not big guys. A lot of them are very slim guys, but because they've got very good strength, and the females to hold their bodies up, they're very slim, but they're very, very strong. So
it's about knowing how to use what body strength you have got. What a fellow David's just said, Danny, who is the Korean forward in the under-21s, what a talent. I think I know what you're on about, but for names for me, mate, you can put most of the Premier League in front of me and I can't give you names, but I recognise the players. I am absolutely awful with remembering names, but I think I know who you're on about. I mean, there's a left winger in the youth academy in the under-21s that personally I'd bring him up to, like, if we got rid of Richarlison and didn't replace him, I'd bring in that left winger in the under-21s and maybe give him a go or two, sort of thing. Or ideally, Brian Gill cover that place. So, yeah. So, right, I'm going to call that show a day. So, we are now good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for coming on. Leave us a like and subscribe. Mia, what are you up to at the moment? What are you doing?
Over at Spurs Between the Lines, I do daily content. I've started dropping videos early, normally around 8 o'clock UK time, just on the latest news. So I make sure that I look it up, see what's going on with Tottenham, and give you all the latest. I do my lives every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, like a little catch up. Today I actually did a call in for members, so if you want to get a membership, you can come and join me. I'm going to start doing those a bit more because that was really fun, actually. I enjoyed doing that. So yeah, I do all different kinds of. I do previews, reviews, and I'm also going to start a little series called Back Your Man. So I'm going to get different people on who back people.
I'm interested.
Who back a player that not everybody might not want to back, and you've got to convince me and the viewers.
Højbjerg.
Yeah,
like a Højbjerg. Okay.
Like a Højbjerg, to back your man. So you've got to give me all the reasons that you've got. I might come back at you, back a few little things and say, actually, what about this? And you've basically got to try and convince me, like I say, and the viewers that we should back your man.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's like selling something, isn't it? When someone's trying to when curries are trying to sell you a washing machine, a computer, whatever, and that, you don't just ask why that washing machine. Well, because it's good. Well, no,
That's
I
right.
want to hear the details and sell me what you want to sell me.
It to me.
So do you know what? Do you know what? That sounds fun. I'll definitely have to take part in that one myself and have a go with that, because I'm sure there's a player I can come up with that we can have a debate over. I mean, there always is at Spurs. So everybody who's been watching, thank you. Everybody who left the money on there, much appreciated. Give us a like and subscribe, and please don't forget me as one. You got to go over and like and subscribe to her. All right. Good afternoon, people. Take care of yourselves. See you later.